Welcome to a solo episode of Be Alive with Kate Manzer. Today, I am here to share with you something that I've been working on for the past 3 years, but haven't really talked very much about online. That is my master's degree, and it affects you. I promise you. So, this is not only a life update just to kind of share what I've been doing and my experience of getting a master's degree at 40, 41 years old, but also it is sharing this exciting research that I've been working on over the past year as part of the program and sharing like what the journey is to come and what it means for you, my listeners, and for the world. So I started my master's degree 3 years ago. I'm in the final year right now. I will be finishing in just a few months. Why? Why get a master's degree at 40, 41 years old? Well, one of the things that a lot of people ask me when I tell them that I went back to school, they're like, oh, well, what are you going to do with that degree? What job are you trying to get? I am trying to get the job that I have. So, really credibility is a big part of why I decided to go back to school. There's tons of coaches out there. There's tons of authors and speakers out there, but not all of them have postgraduate degrees in the area that they're speaking and writing about. That's obviously a big part of it. So I'm just trying to have the job that I have, but have more academic rigor, have a research background, and have that credibility associated with taking it a little bit farther. A second reason that I wanted to get my master's is that I am a super curious person. I love learning and I do better in semi-structured environments. I'm like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Not too structured, don't micromanage me, not zero structure because then I will like procrastinate into the ether, but just structured enough where it gives me a track to follow and then I can go deep. So curiosity and learning is just like a really important value in my life. So I knew that I wanted to go back and get a postgraduate degree for that reason. And then the third reason that I wanted to get this master's degree is because I wanted to use it as not only an impetus, but sort of an arena to dig deeper into the topic of my research and my next book. So I was like, okay, I know I need to write my next book. I'm kind of formulating what that idea is. Why don't I go back to school and use part of the program to research and write about the topic that I'm most passionate about? So, what degree am I actually getting? I am getting, the formal degree title is a Master's of Science in Transpersonal Psychology, Consciousness, and Spirituality. So, I chose transpersonal psychology because it is very specifically the type of psychology that I wanted to study. I knew that I did not want to go to school and get a clinical degree and become a therapist. I love therapists. I coach therapists. I see a therapist. I have therapist friends. Amazing. So needed in this world. It's not my specific path. My path is coaching people, it's writing books, it's speaking. It's a little bit more of like a public role is what I'm really going for to reach a lot of people with my message. So what is transpersonal psychology? You might have heard of Abraham Maslow and the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is that pyramid, that triangle that shows the needs of humans, starting with food and shelter at the bottom and then going all the way up to self-actualization at the top. That was created by a psychologist named Abraham Maslow, who is known and widely accepted as the father of transpersonal psychology. And that should give you a pretty good idea of what transpersonal psychology is, which is it goes beyond just using the mind as the main conduit for understanding humans and zooms out to incorporate the whole person, the somatic body, the consciousness, the spirituality, transcendent experiences, in addition to, of course, the psychology of the mind. So I wanted to study more than just the mind. I wanted to study that whole person. And so that's why I specifically chose this type of psychology. And then that is what guided me choosing this school that I found. So I found this school in the UK. It's called Aleph Trust, and they specialize in master's and doctorate degrees in transpersonal psychology. The other reason I chose this school, other than it fit my budget, it was the type of psychology I wanted to study. I chose it because it offered live classes. So many of the programs that I looked at, they actually just offered recorded classes. And I know myself, I know that if there's a library of classes that I'm supposed to watch, I will not watch them. I knew that I needed like a time and a place to show up to. And I also wanted the live lectures. I wanted to engage with my professors. I wanted to choose a program where I was going to be really able to go deep and engage with my classmates as well. So this is a totally online program. It's based in the UK. It's accredited through a UK, a formal public UK institution. And I'm so happy that I chose this program for a lot of reasons. I'm sure there's other programs out there that would have been equally as wonderful, but this one really fit the bill for me. And also the UK style of education really fits me, which is again like give me a track, tell me like what to do and like what we're learning, but don't micromanage me with tons of little assignments. So if you know anything about programs, especially postgraduate programs in Europe and in particular in the UK, it's very much like a self-study situation. Nobody's looking over your shoulder, nobody's like haunting you, telling you what to do, asking you like where's your assignment. It's very much like here's what you got to do, get your shit done, and it's your passion and your drive that like needs to get you there. So what is the program? The first 2 years we spent studying the theory of transpersonal psychology, the theory of consciousness, the theory of, spirituality. So we studied a lot of different religions, a lot of different theories around consciousness. The theory that turned me on the most is the theory that the brain is actually a filter, and that the brain filters, the cosmic consciousness that's available, and that's why we like are able to only see a little bit of it and catch glimpses of it in our transcendent experiences, is because our brain isn't creating consciousness, it's actually filtering the cosmic consciousness that's out there. So I love considering that idea. So the first 2 years were all theory. I learned so much, got to study so many amazing psychologists and researchers, and they brought in amazing speakers for us. And then the third year of this program, which is what I'm in now, because it's a master's of science, the third year is built around running your own independent research study with oversight from the ethics community, with an advisor and everything, but running your own independent research study based on the topic of your choosing, and then writing a formal research report on that. So that's what I've been doing in this third year. But let's back up a little bit, because I have to tell you, like, the journey that I got taken on, because I came into this master's and I was like, I'm a writer. I love writing. I've written a book. Like, writing these papers is going to be so easy. Y'all, no. Two things happened. Number one, I did not do very well with academic writing, because it's vastly different than writing, a personal growth book for the general population, or writing a blog, or even writing in your undergrad. So my grades, when I first got my first few grades back, they were not good. They were not good. And they were not good for two reasons. The first one is because, like I said, I just like I had some hubris going on. I thought I was going to be all that in a bag of chips. I was not. The second reason is because the UK grading system is so different from the American grading system. So these first few papers I did way back at the beginning 3 years ago, I was getting grades like 58, 59, and in the American grading system, a 58 is like, pack your bags, you're flunked out, like get out of here. In the British grading system, a 58, 59 is like a B or B minus or something in there. So like not a great grade, but not the F that I thought it was. So once I finally got my head around the British grading system, and I realized that I wasn't failing these papers, but I was not doing that hot. There was a lot of red lines on these papers. In academic writing, they do not like conversational tone. They do not like short paragraphs. So it's very different from the type of writing that you would do anywhere else. Once I figured out that I was getting like B minuses, Bs, I was able to kind of like pick up my ego, my poor little Kate ego that 100% got bruised with these grades, and really start to dig into developing my voice in academic writing. And I got to have this cool arc, which is like I started with B minuses and ended up towards the end of my program with much better grades. So it's like you either get fail, pass, merit, or distinction. My first several papers were like passes, like you did fine, you passed, but it was nothing special. But as I went through the program, I was getting better and better at academic writing. I was getting better and better as a researcher. And so I got a really cool, like, come up arc. So as I've been doing this program over the past 3 years, I've still been doing all my other normal stuff. I've been doing this podcast, I've got my coaching clients, I've got speaking engagements. So I've been really kind of trying to juggle all of that as one does when you're in school. It's always like a lot for sure. But it's been like an awesome journey. I've met so many cool people. I got the chance to go to the UK last year and speak at Oxford University and meet a bunch of my classmates and my professors at a conference that was held at Oxford. And it's just been, it's like, how long did I think about getting my master's? And I was like, oh no, it's not the right time, or I don't have the money or whatever. And it's like, you just do it and your life kind of like folds around it. I'm just not getting any younger. And I'm so glad that I didn't wait any longer to do this. This has led me to the most incredible research of my life. I'm going to talk to you about what it is that I'm studying and why it matters to you. So, just a little bit of backstory here is that you may or may not know that 11 years ago, I had this really profound awakening that completely changed my life. It started when I had 4 friends and family members die in just unexpected events over the course of a year. It set me into like a year of really deep thanatophobia where I was terrified of everything. I thought death was coming for me around every corner. And then when the 4th person ultimately passed away, something about it just caused me to look at everything differently. And I had this really profound awakening about the role of mortality in our lives. And after that, my life just kind of got set on fire in the best and most confusing way. I started to look at life differently. I felt totally alive. I started to realize the urgency and the presence of time in my life. And at that time, I decided to quit my job at Google and travel around the world because all of my priorities had shifted. And I felt like this is it, this is now. On that trip, I began studying spirituality. I began studying the role of mortality awareness in the lives of humans. And I was, of course, on my own spiritual journey as I was traveling around, growing, learning, and meeting people. At the same time, I was developing the You Might Die Tomorrow brand, which just started as a blog. And then I was like, well, maybe I'll see if people want stickers. And people started buying stickers. And then people started buying t-shirts. And it took off from there. But so for many years, I was deeply entrenched in researching mortality awareness. I was so turned on by the idea that thinking about death awakens something within us that brings presence, gratitude, a shift in values, and just this really palpable experience of aliveness. And as that went on, and after I published my book and everything, something in me began to shift. And what I realized was that while I'm still totally passionate about the role of mortality awareness in the lives of humans and the power that it can have, I'm actually more passionate about feeling alive, and that mortality awareness is just one way to get there. So part of that was I started doing these things that I called alive moments, where I would just bring to the forefront of my consciousness that I was alive. And I would have these wild experiences, and they would range from very mild to like really intense. On the mild end, it was just like this feeling of presence and gratitude and awareness of my body, and just like seeing my environment and being really deeply in the present moment. Some of these alive moments were like pretty freaking psychedelic where I was just so like, I could see the miraculousness of being alive and of the present moment and like the vibrant colors around us and the beauty of humanity and just like the wildness of the privilege of existence. So that was where I really started to see aliveness, the conscious awareness of aliveness, as not only a practice but a really important tool to awakening. So I knew that when I was starting this program that I wanted to study aliveness. So fast forward, now let's talk about my study. What I found out when I began doing research for my research project was, of course you have to do a literature review to understand, like, okay, what is the other literature out in the field that has been done on your topic. And the topic that I wanted to study was the conscious awareness of aliveness. Nobody, from what I have found, has really studied what happens when humans become consciously aware of our aliveness. There's a body of research on the background awareness of aliveness, which is like, you know, we always know that we're going to die. We just have this like background awareness that like we are mortal. Yeah, 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 but like we don't really think about it. It's the same thing with aliveness. We always have this sort of like background peripheral awareness of like, yeah, I'm breathing, like I'm animated, I'm alive, this is my life. But there's a difference from the background awareness of those versus what happens when you bring those to the foreground. And on the mortality side, there's a huge body of research called mortality awareness and also adjacent in the terror management theory field. There's a Pulitzer Prize winning book about the awareness of death. There's a huge body of research that studies what happens to human when the peripheral awareness of mortality is made focal. There's none of that in the aliveness awareness space. And I was absolutely floored about this. I was like, are you serious? Like, am I really about to be possibly the first person to study the conscious awareness of aliveness? Obviously, it just made me way more excited. And I felt a certain amount of like a pretty actually profound sense of responsibility in that. I was like, wow, nobody has studied this before. I might be the first person to do that. I need to really be mindful about the study that I'm creating and think about how it can be a contribution to not only the scientific research, but also to humanity. So, thus began me designing my study. What I decided was I wanted to start really, superficially isn't the right word, but I wanted to start on a really basic level. So instead of taking people in and saying, let's do a 30-minute meditation on where I bring you into your aliveness, I was like, what happens when we just expose someone to a reminder of their aliveness for like 30 seconds or 1 minute a day for 10 days? So that was really the genesis of my study. I decided that I wanted to have a 10-day intervention. So I designed a 10-day protocol where I send a text message to my study group that just simply encourages them to become more aware of their aliveness for 30 seconds to 1 minute. That was all I said. I said, don't do a deep meditation. If something comes up, great, like ride that wave. But all I'm asking for is 30 seconds of conscious awareness of your aliveness. I designed this 10-day protocol. Every message was different. So each of the 10 days was different, but they were all built around this bringing conscious awareness of aliveness to your focal attention. I then decided that I wanted to measure both qualitative aspects and quantitative aspects. So I wanted to understand, well, can this have an effect on well-being and can it have an effect on stress? That's the quantitative aspect. And then I also wanted to understand the essence of this phenomenon. Because this has never been studied before, I wanted to understand, like, what are the descriptors? What are the feelings? What are the sensations that people experience when they become consciously aware that they are alive? So I designed my study to I measured well-being and stress at the beginning of the intervention and at the end of the intervention. And then I measured the effect, right? And then I also did 13 interviews and I gathered 38 written responses to measure the qualitative aspect, which is to understand the essence of the phenomenon. I can't share results with you yet. I'm still processing through them, but let me just tell you the amount of times that I have cried, just tears of just overwhelm and awe at the beauty of what has come out of this study and the experiences that people have had. It's overwhelming, and I cannot wait to share it with you. As you can hear, I'm getting a little bit choked up even talking about it. I can't wait to share it with you because it affects you. What I have discovered is that this is a very meaningful practice that is not only very, very effective, very profound, but it's also free and universal to everybody. You don't need to go to an ayahuasca retreat in another country. You don't need to read a special book. You don't need to pay a bunch of money to experience this. Sure, like I'm going to offer things that will help you experience it more deeply and help teach you how to do this. But this is available to everybody. You don't have to take my class or read my book that I'm going to be writing on this in order to have some impact of this experience on your life. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter whether you are handicapped and can or can't travel. This is available to everyone who is alive. And that just makes me so excited because of the effects that I've witnessed through this study, and that it is available to everyone. I just feel that, it's my duty to, as I'm completing this study and I'm going to be sharing these results with you, I'm going to be talking about these results for a really long time. I'm going to be developing a keynote speech around these results. I'm going to be writing my next book around, this concept and these results. I'm going to be talking about it in my podcast, interviewing people on this topic and creating videos about this, because this is a message that needs to get out into the world. And for some reason, I am one of the people to do that. And my hope is that I am not the only person to do it, though. My hope is that I'm initiating this area of research and that it inspires people like you and other scientists and philosophers and everybody to start not only talking about this, but deepening this field of research so that we can not only understand it better, but that it can become more widely known because it is such a powerful tool and it is available to everyone. That's why I'm doing a master's. That's where I am in the master's program. I'm almost finished. I can't wait to share these results with you towards the end of the summer. So my ask of you today is, if you haven't already, please subscribe to me and my work either on YouTube, on Spotify, on my social media at the Alive Kate on Instagram or TikTok, or go to my website and join my email list, because I want you to come along on this journey with me as I'm not only finishing the data analysis and sharing these results, but also what happens when I start to bring them out to the world, which I'm going to be doing for like several years probably, following the publication of my research. I want you along on this journey. I'm going to be figuring shit out. I'm going to be messing up. I'm going to be meeting amazing people. And I feel a profound sense of responsibility and duty to share this research, but like share my journey along the way. So come along with me, subscribe. And if you feel like there's somebody in your life who might also be interested in this or might click with my specific way of seeing the world and communicating, then share it with somebody. And yeah, we are, as I like to say, man, rock and roll. Like we are on this journey, and it's going to be bumpy. It's going to be bumpy, right? And we're going to be learning a lot together. But this whole notion of aliveness, it feels so accessible. And that's really important to me, is accessibility. I don't want you to have to take a drug in order to feel like what I believe is our birthright, which is like this aliveness that we possess. And I'm here as one person to help you get in better touch with that, to help make you feel more alive, live more alive. And so with that, we'll do what we always do, which is to place our hand on our heart, to take a breath, to feel the warmth of your hand on your chest, to maybe feel into your circulation, your heartbeat, to feel the intangible energy that's coursing through you. And just remember, like, we're alive right now. We don't know why. There's a lot of suffering, there's a lot of beauty, but here we are, existing in this moment, in this life, in this body. Just feel it. Bring it to the focus of your awareness for 20 seconds. Take a breath and say, hey, I'm alive. Thanks for joining me on this journey. Catch you on the next one.